What do you think?
I mean, I think it can be a real struggle for people.
Yeah, like you answer so honestly with no facade that you sometimes wonder if what you're going to say, can I even say that? So yes, it's our podcast. It's Lights On with Laura Lent. And when you hold it like that, like my experience is the truth, whether you like it or not, here's what you do. You leave no room for something better to show up. If you have not experienced something, there's a different tone to the way you hold it. And if you have, there's this firm confidence that's like, man, this is what I've lived. It helps people relate. It helps people speak. It's like when people talk about Australia.
Oh, yeah.
They go right into, hey, Mike, how's the bloomin' onion? Like they think that Australia is about Outback Steakhouse and shark attacks, which it is.
No,
so if people are wondering, will you die in Australia? The chances are about 99%
it's not
yes.
true. That's what gets me.
It is
like,
true.
People
It is
always
true.
go,
My experience
I
is
would
that it is
love
true.
to go to Australia, but I don't want to get killed by one of your insects. And I'm like, bro, it's not like that.
It is like that.
It is
It
not.
is like that. Australia, this is a fact. You might die if you go to Australia all the time.
Can you talk about a time when someone's experience changed your mind?
This was I can make it personal. The way I view trauma and the way I view therapy. So before I had my own life explosion, which led to beauty, I looked at therapy as a lot of preachers did. Here we go with the trauma. Oh, the trauma. Oh my gosh. Well, turns out I was wrong. Turns out it has a lot more to do with the way people function than I ever realized.
Lights On is partnering with a new organization called Planner, and they are an amazing group of people that are helping women who found themselves in unexpected situations with pregnancy, infertility, all sorts of needs that they are meeting in this new app that's come out. But you can find out more information at planner.org, plana.org.
Welcome to Lights On. I'm Carl, joined by my wife Laura today. Really, really glad you're here. If you've never tuned in, it's a great day to have you. Have you ever wondered if your experience in life is making you better or worse? Today, we're going to get into this conversation that I know is going to help you. If you want to know how to kind of enhance your relationships and make sure that what you've been through is working for you rather than against you, that's what this whole episode is about. So thank you for being here. You need to know this. You're worth it, and you deserve a life that you love. And that's what happens when you start to weigh up your experience. My experience with life is. My experience with this person is. What if I told you that there's a way to get some new peace and some new joy out of phrasing like that? So consider that as you listen. Don't forget, you're doing way better than you think you are. Welcome to Lights On. What if your personal experience was never meant to be the whole truth, but a doorway to a deeper truth? That's what we're going to try to get to in this episode, to teach people and to give you some clues, if you're listening, on how to do this, to maybe your experience, there's a way to honor it without letting it hijack your faith, hijack your perspective, hijack everything about you. Maybe your experience can lead to something that makes your relationships better, not worse, because it's that big of a deal. So this is a high value truth. What if your experience was never meant to be the whole truth, but a doorway to a deeper truth? That's what I love to get into with anybody that is willing to change, because we have found ways to make sure that you are honoring your experience without letting it hijack your faith, distort your relationships, limit your growth. It happens to so many people. Their experience, they think, is like what they have to live by. And it's like, cool, it's creating a cap in you. Because of my experience here, like for instance, if somebody has experienced life with a lot of disappointment, there's a good chance that they think that the rest of life is going to be like that because you had a severe disappointing season. Now your whole prism has that disappointing, maybe it won't work out tinge. Now your relationships are affected. Now your relationship with God is affected. The list goes on. But conversely, there's a way to use your experience as a tool that makes you better. How you hold your experience dictates the quality of your life. I believe that's a fact.
But why do you think my experience these days has become like it carries so much weight for people that it's
Yeah.
become like their belief system.
Everything, yeah.
Like, what is that?
Well, we live in a experience is king culture. So in today's world, my truth has been allowed to be substituted often for the truth. Like if I believe it, that's the way it is. So the conversation that we need to have, we got to challenge that mindset, because we can validate people's pain, joy, love, experience without claiming that your truth is the truth. There's a way to, handle that in a way. And the second reason why it's such a huge deal is because your experience can either clarify your life or confuse the crap out of it, especially if you're somebody who is passionate about your faith. This is where people get very, very tripped up, because they'll have a theology here, but their experience will be here. And all of a sudden, now you got somebody who is in a serious conundrum, and we don't handle that well. Typically, speaking, I don't know if you're a Christian watching, but we are. And in church life, sometimes let's just say, well, my belief is that God is a healer. Well, my experience is that everybody I love and have prayed for, they've died. What we normally will do in that situation often is we will somehow either minimize, patronize, or even try to trick someone into thinking, no, they didn't die. God took them home. It's like, no, we're not doing that. You need to be able to handle your experience and be able to handle the theological truth you believe. There's a way that both of these two things can coexist, even if they don't match all the time. So I think that's why it matters so much. Your experience is your prism. That's what I think.
So do you think the my experience thing is more of a help for people or a hindrance?
What do you think?
I mean, I think it can be a real struggle for people.
Yeah. Like you answer so honestly with no facade that you sometimes wonder if what you're going to say, can I even say that? So yes, it's our podcast. It's Lights On with Laura Lentz. But I think it carries so much weight because it's rooted in something good. Like we're trying to validate how people feel. And that makes sense to me. But like every good thing, if it's not checked and it's not balanced, it becomes something stupid. Like people just really think, remember when we came back online and you would post something and people would say, mostly nice things, but there'd always be that one lady who'd be like, cheaters never change.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can get accents on IG. Cheaters never change, just a matter of time.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
That was the biggest one.
Perhaps her experience
That's her
has been
experience,
that.
yeah.
But you can see that she has made that experience a truth for all of us. And I'm going, cool. I don't have to push your feelings down. So whoever you are who says that to Laura, cheaters never change, whoever you are, God bless you. I don't know what you walk through. And my experience with overcoming infidelity is that I know God can change anybody. Right. And I got hundreds of thousands of examples of people that have changed. So I appreciate your experience, ma'am. But that's a great example of you trying to take your projection and make it somebody else's plan.
Social media is full of that.
Oh my gosh, social
People
media is a
project
breeding
their
ground for
own experience.
horrible projections.
They project their own experience on everyone else, thinking that they're the only one that's right.
Yeah, that's your belief. That's your experience. And when you hold it like that, like my experience is the truth, whether you like it or not, here's what you do. You leave no room for something better to show up. So feel free. No, all men cheat. Okay, are you even open to that being fair, your experience? What if there's something better? Are you even open to that? And all of a sudden now we're starting to talk about what we'll get into, which is how to hold this. But conversely, if you get this right, you can have a belief about something and know it makes you better. My experience is this, but I'm open to hearing yours because my experience isn't the only one. And as pastors, we did this really, really well because we had the opportunity to walk life with so many people. So for instance, as a young pastor, I remember celebrating Mother's Day, and it was a celebration. Like you get up and you lead your church and you honor moms and you just focus on moms. My experience with Mother's Day, shout out to Kathy Lentz, is we give her gifts and we celebrate and we laugh and we eat. It's beautiful. And then I met some people that had lost their mom.
Right.
And they couldn't even come to church that day. And I thought, interesting. Their experience with Mother's Day is deep pain. Then we have some people we love that lost children. Yeah. Their experience with Mother's Day is deep, deep pain, trauma. So what does that do to my experience? It doesn't nullify the fact that my experience with Mother's Day is joyful because Kathy Lynch is the best. But what it does is it opens me up to realize, man, maybe there's a way I can hold what I believe and what I know and also honor other people. So we started doing things on Mother's Day to honor those that had lost children. We started to take a moment in services to honor people who are dealing with deep pain. It makes you so much better.
Right.
So if I'm, a social media type person in this regard, I'd be like, no way. Mother's Day is only about celebrating. Okay, cool. Enjoy that small TikTok life you have, because that's the only place where thinking like that works. So I think it's a big deal to keep getting better and keep learning it. So this is why, here, let's talk about the good part. Let's talk about the good part of my experience. First thing I love is that it definitely grounds you in authenticity. So when people speak from their experience and they're doing it in a healthy way, it feels better. It feels more real. Like I'm less interested in somebody's opinion about something they haven't walked through. That's the kindest way. It still has weight. I'll still listen. But if you are speaking about something you've never experienced, I hold it differently.
100%. I mean, when you go through something or you're out there saying your experience, I want to know that you've actually experienced that this is something you've walked through, that is something that you've experienced, the pain or the hurt or the joys, whatever the experience is. But if you haven't, I'm not necessarily listening
in that way. Yeah.
But yeah.
I would appreciate if people just would say that. And then I will listen. Hey, I've never walked through this in my life, but I have a great thought on it. I can deal with that all day, but it's like when you talk to a young couple who's giving sermons or teaching about how to raise kids, and all their kids are under the age of 3 and they're terrible now. Horrible kids, right? But you're going to get up and tell me with my adult children how to handle kid stuff, right? It's a tough sell.
It is.
Because of the way you premised it.
Right.
Better would be, I have some hopes and dreams for being a dad. Might look like this, but dads, this is what you got to do with your toddler. You got to tuck them in and you got to pray every night for this amount of time. Good luck, buddy.
Yeah.
Wait until one of those toddlers is puking and the other toddler's burning the house down and you can't stand your other kid and you got to stay married. I bet you might have to change up your schedule. My point is, if you have not experienced something, there's a different tone to the way you hold it. And if you have, there's this firm confidence that's like, man, this is what I've lived. It helps people relate. It helps people speak. It helps you share really honestly. Like, that's my favorite part about speaking from my experience, is that I have a deep confidence about it. It's like when people talk about Australia.
Oh, yeah.
And they go right into, hey, Mike, how's the blooming onion? Like, they think that Australia is about Outback Steakhouse and Shark Attacks, which it is.
No,
so
well,
if people are wondering, will you die in Australia? The chances are about 99%
It's not
yes.
true. That's what gets me.
It is
like,
true.
People
it is
always
true.
go,
My experience
I
is
would
that it
love
is true.
to go to Australia, but I don't want to get killed by one of your insects. And I'm like, bro, it's not like that.
It is like that.
It is not.
It is like that. Australia, this is a fact. You might die if you go to Australia all the time. You could die insects, snakes, sharks.
So stupid.
So that's true. And my experience with Australia, due to being married to the best part of Australia.
And you lived there for a long time.
And I lived there. So when people talk about Australia, it's like, well, I've been there. So you can talk about your experience that you have without going there, and I'll tell you mine. And it gives you a little bit of ground to stand on that feels a little bit better. So when you do find an experience that you can speak from experience and it's healthy, man, you can really stand your ground. Let me tell you this, though. This is interesting. I was thinking about how much, when you've walked through something, it really gives you a depth to understand if you handle it correctly. For instance, my experience with our public fall and pain was one of complete, almost fascination with the number of lies and gossipy stories that people would believe. And my experience has now led me to believe, because of that, I mean, we read for years, just stuff that's just patently untrue, or people would be opining and making things. They don't have, what we know from our experiences, you don't have a clue what's going on, what really happened. But yet you're literally building a case about something you don't know. So it's my experience has led me to change the way I see other stories now.
Yeah.
So when I see gossip or I hear gossip, I'm just not interested because it's almost completely going to be not all true. And then secondly, we're not going to know all the angles. So if someone's like, hey, man, did you hear about that guy who effed up his life? Nah, I sure didn't. If I get a chance to meet him, I'll ask him and I'll talk. But yeah, but did you see the story? Did you see the story on it? Do you know anything about media? My experience has led me to believe I understand how media works in a different ways. I know how they get around slander laws. I know how they can write articles using lies if they can fabricate a statement that says they emailed you a chance to speak on it or not. And it's all they have to do in a court of law. So that's how you can write just absolute ridiculous columns of information that's not true. So for me, I can read a story and go, okay, cool. Because there's another and sometimes it is true.
Right.
Both things can be true. But my experience has led me to look at something like that. So I wonder, as you listen to this, where might your experience be able to make you better because of what you've been through rather than worse? Because if it's made me worse, then I look at gossip and I'm just like, yeah, screw them too. I can't believe that. I can't believe that Tom Cruise built a space shuttle to take his child to Scientology class or whatever. People believe that stuff. They believe it about us. So, or they did. So I've had to learn how to hold that. And here's the number one strength of understanding the power of your experience. This is huge. I feel like it's getting lost in culture. It almost feels too simple to say, but it helps you form your own opinion. The amount of people right now that will accept somebody else's experience as their own and make their opinion based off somebody else's experience is hard to understand. I mean, it's like, I know that we all do that to a degree. Like if you hate a restaurant, probably not going to go. It's fair. But when you take that on a deeper level, like people don't make their own opinions anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I believe that because this person, because of that, because of this. And it's like, at what point are you willing to take somebody else's experience for what it is and go get your own? Go find out about that person yourself. I mean, Beyonce. I went to a Beyonce concert with Charlie. And before I went for myself, I was going just to see exactly when Satan himself comes through the floor and begins to conduct an orchestra of demons. And then they sacrifice children and do satanic rituals, because I have a terrible algorithm right now on some of the social media that I see, and it's all just really annoying Christians saying things that are ridiculous. And there's like this whole thread about Beyonce, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I mean, I'm gonna go see this, but I need some holy water, and I need to make sure that people know I'm in there in case I don't come out, because the devil's in there. Like Beyonce's concert, it was such an awesome concert.
Yeah.
My experience with the Beyonce concert was me and Charlie danced for 2.5 hours. We laughed, and we had the time of our lives. If there's stuff happening on the stage that I don't agree with or want to see, do you know what I did? I didn't watch. I just watched the game on my phone, and there weren't that many of them. She's got songs that I don't theologically align with. I just don't listen to them. It's not a big deal, but my experience leads me to have my own opinion. So as I watch people opine about the perils of listening to Beyonce, cool. I respect your opinion. I respect your experience, but you're not going to tell me what my experience is going to be. And so we got to enjoy a whole night with Beyonce as a creative person. That our whole family, I mean, it was like it was like a dopamine crack house. I mean, to look at that and go, how does she do this? How is she floating above the crowd? Why does she have movies made? In the middle of her set transitions, we're watching full-length movies, and Charlie's a dancer, so she's watching this perfect choreography, and it was just so fun. Point. Form your own opinion, please. Get your own experience, get your own opinion, use other people's experience as data. Cool, do that. But if you're letting that be the thing that drives you, it's a very hollow, shallow life, because you don't have any of your own experiences. And a lot of people live their life like that.
Right. How do you think firsthand experience changes the way we listen to people?
That's great. How does firsthand experience change the way we listen to people? Data drop, for those that love this. Harvard Business Review 2020, personal experience is among the top 3 reasons people change opinions, particularly when they pair it with empathy. Pew Research, 2019, 67% of Americans said knowing somebody's personal story or someone who faced an issue, racism, addiction, changed how they viewed that issue. 67%. One experience with somebody going through something, they changed their opinion. So it's a pretty big deal.
Can you talk about a time when someone's experience changed your mind?
Somebody's experience changed your... Yes, great question. So something that changed my mind due to an experience was, I can make it personal, the way I view trauma and the way I view therapy. So before I had my own life explosion, which led to beauty, I looked at therapy as a lot of preachers did in the era that I was in, which is like, hey, it's all right, but you need to come here. Like, therapy's cool, but don't get carried away. Don't get carried away with the whole therapy thing. And here we go with the trauma. Oh, the trauma. Oh my gosh. Well, turns out I was wrong. Turns out it has a lot more to do with the way people function than I ever realized. So now my view is radically altered because of my own experience. So when people have that biting, cynical vibe towards something, I like to ask them, you ever walk through that yourself there, brother?
Right.
And often it's a hard no. Of course it is. Because when you walk through something or you consider someone else's experience, it makes you a deeper, more attractive person in general.
What about some preachers that don't use life experience or their own personal experiences in their sermons? What do you think about that? Do you think that's important?
Good question. Yeah, I think it's hugely important for preachers or communicators to share about their own lives when they can in a way that isn't always pointing to their greatness or in a way that's patronizing about their weakness. What I mean by that is I heard a preacher one time, he's like, we all struggle with temptation. We all struggle with it. Even me. The other day, somebody cut me off and I was tempted deeply to have an attitude that I rejected. And I went, that's how you're going to really, that's the temptation. You want to let your people know that you too struggle with that. Nothing else you could bring to the table. So when I hear preachers talk like that, I want them to know there's more for you. There's more connection for you. There's more capacity for you, because the more you talk about some of the things that you have experienced that don't make you look great, the more people resonate with what you have to say.
Right. The more vulnerable you are.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about over vulnerable. Those people are the worst as well. Like, nobody needs to hear your wild details, but there has to be a happy middle ground where you're willing to just be normal.
Yeah.
That's all. So yeah, I think it's a big deal. It happens. I mean, the problem is when your experience becomes a wall instead of a window. That's when it becomes an issue. There are some people who will use their experience to discount everything else that may be true or somebody else's experience because of their own. Now you have a wall. I'm submitting that you can use your experience as a window that helps you see even more. So this isn't going to be a barrier. It's going to be something that I can stand on. And it looks like this, like when I say it's a wall, all churches. All churches, A, B, and C, all churches. Okay, so let me get this straight. Obviously, something's happened to you, and you now are on a soapbox talking about all churches. A moment, an experience for you. Now you're defining an entire genre of life that you can't possibly speak to accurately. And I think it just happens with church in general. Like, I think if I see one more person make a video that says, the church in America needs to, the church in America? Yeah. What do you know about the church in America? At best, you've been to 5. At best, I'll even double it. Let's just say you've been to 10, and you're the church expert telling the church. First of all, when you say the church, what are you talking about? What kind of churches?
Right.
Where? I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I'm saying I'm absolutely right there as an expert. I've preached all over the world, different countries, different contexts, different congregations, different languages, different religions at times. And so I feel like I have a depth of knowledge to a degree when it comes to the church, and I don't have a clue how to define it. So when I see people are like, the churches need to stop having light shows. So you've been to 3.
Right.
And now you've got an opinion that's a wall. Window. The church that I go to has light shows. It makes me feel a certain way. Does anybody know anything about churches that still use candles? Great, now we're cooking. Now it's a window. But relax on the generalization. For those that keep making videos about what the church should do, relax, get out of here. Or, I mean, people do it with politics too. Our country needs to. The president needs to. Do you know how many people make decisions before the president does? Of course you don't. Relax.
What does it look like when someone uses their experience to shut down a conversation?
It looks like somebody who's unwilling and unable to consider any other facts or objective data, regardless of how real it is, or consider anybody else's view about anything. So what happens is your brain shuts down. It's a defense mechanism. So when people are like that, now you're operating with some chemicals. You're operating with some brain function. Because when someone shuts it down, that's not my experience. Okay, cool. So you mean that you're not even remotely open to what might else could be true about this? Like I'm shutting it down. Well, that's fine. Like my experience is more important than your experience.
Well, how do you do that? Because you are a very opinionated person and have strong opinions, but you have somehow found a way to get in conversations where you can be open and you are very willing and able to listen to other people's opinions and still have a great conversation.
Oh, it's a journey, babe. It is a journey. So I appreciate you premising like that. Like I am a recovering.
You are good though.
I'm definitely getting better.
But you're a debater as well.
I mean, I'm a recovering addict as far as being addicted to my own opinion.
Yeah.
That's been one of the toughest addictions for me to overcome is the addiction to my own opinion. So the way you break that and rewire your brain is you learn, and it's like great. It's like I can't even think of the proper thing, but man, it's painful if you're an opinion guy to hear other people. But over a matter of time, you get to a place, and there's a powerful tension of being able to hear somebody else's experience and then being able to share yours without crushing theirs. And it looks like this. I'll if it were in a sentence format, you shared your experience. Here's what I can say in a way that I think is healthy. I really appreciate you sharing that. Your experience clearly meant a lot, and it shaped how you are seeing things. I want to honor that without pretending mine is the same. For me, it played out very differently. Doesn't mean one of us is wrong. Just means that our stories are carrying very different truths. I think there's room for both.
Yeah.
Who in the world, people, when you say that to them, they're like, that makes too much sense. I feel too much peace, because they want to feel like someone's attacking them. So it's just a real quick, like that response does three things. So I'll read it again. Here's a way you could handle somebody else's experience, even if yours is radically different. Say this: I really appreciate you sharing that. Your experience clearly meant a lot to you, and it shaped how you see things. I want to honor that without pretending mine was the same. For me, it played out really, really differently. It doesn't mean one of us is wrong. Just means our stories are carrying two very different truths. I think there's room for both. All I did there, number one, affirm their response without validating it as the only truth. Second, I acknowledge. So the first thing is I affirm, acknowledge my own without creating a power struggle. And then three, you invite space. So I affirm, I hear you. I acknowledge, that sounds hard. Here's my story. And then I invite, can we talk about this? I want to hear more. Now you have a relationship built. So now you've created a bridge. And that's a beautiful thing in this culture. The inference here is that you're secure. So if you're the one holding a story that's different than somebody else's story, if you are secure in that, you can sit there and you have time for a conversation. If you're insecure, you're very defensive. And that's how often I know when people are speaking of their experience and they're really definitive with it, it's like, okay, so you're not open. You want it to be that. You want your experience to be that, because we actually have the power to relate to an experience however we want to relate to it. And that, to me, is where people really start to get empowered in their own personal life. Here's a data drop on that, and this is huge. This is Stanford University, 2021. People who rely solely on personal anecdotes, 42% more resistant to contradictory information, even if it's factual. Think about that. So that's almost half. So resistant to information that contradicts what they want, even if it's factual. And to me, this is where you get into being a prisoner to one story, which is deadly. It's killing people. I love somebody right now that is so married to a single story that they are unable right now, as it stands, to drop their guard and consider that there might be some other truths around that story. And when this happens, you become a stereotype pusher. And the thing about stereotypes is that it's not that they're untrue. It's that there's more to the story. That's all. Like that's when people say stereotypes are untrue. I'm like, nah, it's not that they're untrue. It's that you're not giving context. Like easy one, white people can't dance. Stereotype. I've seen white people dance and it's abysmal. And white people can't dance. It's not necessarily untrue. And I could show you a lot of white people that can. That's all. Right. All of a sudden, there's a little bit of room there because that's what happens if you get married to that one story. It's such a small life. You limit everything about you. And then if you get trapped in a story, a singular story about you or about somebody else, yeah, you're hurting them, but you're really hurting you because people are way, way, way more layered than that.
Well, explain.
Just you. That's you when you get trapped in your singular story. That's right. God saying there's a whole, nope. All men are this. Nope. Life is this. Nope. Got to be like that. Hold your story. Maybe loosen the grip just a little bit in case there might be another story to consider that could make this story even make more sense.
Well, how do we do that? Like, explain how you can take someone's story who you can tell is like, this is it. You know, this is the only way, mine is the truth, or whatever their situation is. How do you honor someone in that moment, even though you might totally disagree with them?
Go back up to the three things we just outlined. Simply hear them out, affirm their experience. I understand you think your story is the only story in life. It sounds like a heavy one. I can see that. My story is that there's multiple chapters to who I am, multiple volumes, multiple libraries filled with stuff. I'd like to share more because these two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Let's talk. Now we're dipping into just being a good person again, which you have to have some sort of desire to love people to even care about this stuff. And I know that's why you're listening and you're watching because you do. But I say that because some people don't care. They're like, that's just the way it is. Especially parents.
And I'm sure that people listening right now, there's so many people who are like, I've got to send them this episode.
For sure. Share away. Share away. But let me say this. This is an important thing to bring up. When it comes to parenting, you really got to be conscious of whether your experience is making you a better parent or a really, really bitter one that's hurting your kids. Because there is a beautiful part of being a parent where you say, hey, from experience, bro, no.
Right.
I'm letting you know. You're not going to have to walk through that because I already did. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. And there are times when your children are better than you.
Right.
They deserve a chance to have their own experience. So, for instance, if there's a mom who won't let their kid out past a certain time because when she was, something terrible happened to her. So now her child has to live in this tiny prison of your experience, and you think you're being a good parent when really I would urge you to consider, is your experience in this exact situation the one that you want to be speaking from? Might there be some other experiences from others? When I have that, I have some deep trauma with some experiences that I've had, and we are really good. You are beautiful at this of saying, hey, babe, that might be one that I need to handle. Because my experience, especially as a dad, I mean, it's layered, but like my experience being an adolescent boy leads me to look at any adolescent boy that walks through these doors with a volatile look. Because my experience of being you, when I was 15, I was shaking the dad's hand as well. I was on my best behavior as well. So my experience of being you leads me to believe you might be full of it and I might end up stabbing you before this night is over. So what I've had to do is put that experience aside and say, let me give this young man the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's better than I was at 15. Yeah. I'll be watching. But maybe his dad taught him some principles that led him a certain way. So I have to make sure that my experience isn't becoming a prison for our kids. And we've worked really hard at that. Yeah. Even with something like church. There was a time where our experience was brutal, and I didn't want my experience, to be put off on them. So we let them continue to build their own relationship with God, their own relationship with church. They're in love with church. They have a new community that they love. But if it was up to me, back at a different time in my journey, I would have been like, I don't want you going to churches, because churches are. I was that guy. And that's fair. You go through moments like that.
People do that. Parents do that all the time.
They do. They do.
And it's really sad, because you do want to let your kids build their own opinions and build their own experience in their own, especially in church life. Because we could have easily done that with our kids.
Yeah.
I could have, because I didn't want to go to church for a while there, but we still let them, do what they needed to do. And I still made myself go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's how we do this. Here's how we hold both truths. And consider saying this about your experience. If you want to make sure that your experience is something that's helping you, it's a great check. My experience doesn't make me right or wrong. It just means I have something to say that needs to be considered. That's all. It's a beautiful place to be. It's like, hey, here's my experience, not my opinion, not my theology, not all that right now. Here's my experience. My experience is when this has happened to me, it's felt like that. Cool. That's fair. I think there's room for that. The big change is posture.
Right.
And we are big posture people. So if you're listening, what I mean by posture, it's the way you show up. It's your attitude. It's your body language. It's the posture in which you hold things. So this is probably one of the most important things. I said this for years as a preacher, and I'm saying it again now for you to hear, because it really, really matters. Holding your experience or somebody else's experience with thoughtfulness. It might not change your belief, but it will change the way you hold it. And sometimes that is everything. So it's either an arrogant posture of experience and belief. This is the way it is. I'm right. It's limiting. It's horrible. It's arrogant. There's a way to hold it so it's humble and it's open and it opens people up. Here's an example that's very interesting. When you look at the way, let's go to religion, church for a sec. When you see somebody who hasn't considered somebody else's experience at all, they're the guys that preach really boldly, really loudly. Let's take sexuality. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how you can see a preacher be known for his hard fire and brimstone. The Bible says Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. I don't care what they say. This is what the Bible says about sexuality. And they go off on these things. And then there's like a 5-year period where you don't hear from that preacher. Oh, it turns out there's a child they have who's walking through something. Now, that experience might not change what they believe, but they're not as annoying about it. Right. They're not as belligerent about it. That's the beauty. Why should it take something like that for us to be kinder to other people's belief? That's where empathy comes in play. Like, if you have to go through everything to understand something, I think that's a shorter road. I think the longer road is going, let me just try my best to get in your shoes. So when it comes to heavy theology, I've been a pastor. I've been in the shoes of someone trying to hold the tension of the truth while holding the experience of people. So the way that we would talk about it, the way sometimes we get criticized for the way we would talk about truth. And I'm like, hey, email me today at idon'tgive2.com and I'll get back to you, because I don't care. I'm going to stand with my friend. I'm going to protect my friend. They know my truth. They know what I believe, but I care about them deeply. And I think that's a beautiful way to think about that tension as you think about what you've experienced and what other people have experienced. It's just going to make you a better person. People are going to want to be around you, because who doesn't want to be validated? Who doesn't want to be heard? I don't need your approval, but I need you to understand me. That's a big difference. There's a lot of people who are still so myopic in the way that they handle people that they think for me to listen to your story is going to make you think I validate, I endorse, I advocate. Me listening is just base level compassion.
It would be beautiful if more Christians did this, if we would just shut our mouths and listen and love, instead of trying to get our truth and our, the Bible says across to people. It's like, you can still carry that, but maybe hold off a little bit and like
it's posture.
Let's listen and love these people first. Whatever they're going through is their experience, and we don't have to always be right in that moment.
I remember during some of the racist unrest in New York, we have a lot of friends that are not white, and this is a beautiful example of experience with an open hand. So, for instance, it's very common now for people to throw stats at you like any sort of racial fear is a myth.
Right.
You know, if you're a black man in America, you're more likely to get A, B, and C than the police and all this stuff. And okay, cool. These are apparently facts, that people will show you. And I'm not disagreeing or agreeing. I'm saying I'm aware there are facts that point to this. My experience having non-white friends, my experience tells me, I see your stats. I've also been in some very, very scary situations with my brothers that don't look like me.
Right.
I'm not discounting that. So, okay, you can sit there on your political stand and you can make all your big, cool sounding judgments and you can get hundreds of thousands of other Republicans that look just like you to support you. Great. All I'm saying is I had a friend who went through something very horrible. I was there. I was with him. And that experience leads me to believe that his fear of a traffic stop is real. So I can validate that. I can also talk about, here's what I heard. Here's what I see. How do we marry these two things? How do we, again, it's a posture. I can still believe that America is safe. And I can consider my brother's story, who doesn't feel as safe as me. Why is this hard? Because it takes a lack of pride and a huge dose of humility to allow somebody else to have their voice be heard. That's what we're dealing with in culture. And I'm here for all of it. I think here's some data drops as we land this plane. People exposed to opposing personal experiences, 60% more likely to shift in emotional empathy, even when they didn't change their core beliefs.
Wow.
60% more likely to shift in empathy. So my belief didn't change. Remember, having empathy and kindness won't change your belief all the time, but it will change the way you hold it. And sometimes that's good enough. So if you want to check, as we close, if you want to check whether your experience is really helping you or hurting you, ask yourself this: Are you positive? Are you confident? Are you passionate? Or are you typically skeptical, hesitant, critical? If it's the latter, then go back to your experiential prism and see what healing can be done. See what work can be done. Because if everything you've gone through has made you that way, there's probably a better way to look at what you've gone through that can make you a different way, that might be more resourceful for your life. That's enough for today. That's a lot. I can't wait to keep kicking this stuff around with you. It's hugely important. Your experience matters deeply. Remember this about your experience. It's not everything, but it is something. Hold that. Figure that out. Continue to kick that around, and I think the result will be a more productive, fruitful, beautiful life. Lights on?
Lights off.
Nailed it. See you next time. Lights On is partnering with lovelife.org, which is a phenomenal organization that does a lot of things, including directly impacting the orphan crisis in our country. It's connecting moms that have unexpected pregnancies with people that desperately want children, among many other amazing things that they do. Check them out at lovelife.org. If you want to be a part of a movement that is changing lives now, lovelife.org is that organization. Lights On has been encouraged and supported by my friend Mike Signorelli in so many ways. We wouldn't be doing this without you, Mike. You can find his church at v1.church. I love pointing people there if you are hesitant to do church, if you want to explore your faith and your spirituality. Cannot recommend my man Mike enough. He's incredible. So Mike Sig, thank you, my Sicilian brother. Love you.